we're going to color code this first body paragraph together. And I've already told you that first sentence is the topic sentence. We know that. So let's underline it in blue because the topic sentence is highlighted in blue. Don't highlight the words, just mark underneath it. Mr. Stevens, a crazy kind of man, will often do things to promote positive morale. Okay, let's check and make sure. Do we have a topic and an opinion? Yes. Here's our topic, and here's our opinion. Will often do crazy things. He's a crazy kid kind of man who will often do crazy things to promote the morale of the middle school. So we have a topic and an opinion. Now, let's see. We're going to read, and we're going to go sentence by sentence. I want you to think about each sentence and whether it is a fact, like a concrete detail, a fact or a story, or is it commentary and opinion when you're analyzing him? So let's read the first one. For example, while wearing the doofus cheesehead, he will strut around the halls filled with booing students. Now, is that telling a story? Is that a fact about him, or is that your opinion? And I'm going to say that that is a fact. So I'm going to underline that sentence in yellow. Okay, I'm going to start with the for example part. While wearing the doofus cheesehead, he will strut around the halls filled with booing students. Okay, let's look at the next sentence. He does this just to antagonize the crazed cowboy fans. Am I analyzing him and wondering why does he do that, or what's he feeling, or am I telling the story? So if it's telling the story, we're going to keep it in yellow. But if you think he's analyzing, and I do, we're going to underline that in green, which represents the commentary. Okay, so I'm explaining here. That's what I'm doing here. I'm explaining why he would walk around with a cheese head, because he's antagonistic, right? He's funny. He just wants to antagonize the crazed cowboy fans. Okay, next sentence. Even though he is quite obnoxious, that's my opinion, about his pathetic team, more of my opinion, he takes the abuse to make students laugh. So I think that is my other commentary. And that's wonderful. I have 1 CD and 2 CMs. Now, also, this, I want us to go ahead and mark this. This represents the first chunk. So let's put brackets around it. There's the beginning of our chunk with the CD, CM, CM, and this is the end of our first chunk. This is going to be the beginning of the second chunk, and we'll see where it ends, okay? Also, Mr. Stevens will stand outside the middle school doors and greet students with silly comments and songs. Is that a story and a fact, or is that your opinion? That's a story and a fact. So I'm going to highlight it in yellow. Now, a CD can be longer than just one sentence. It can be as long as you need it to be to tell your whole story or to explain the fact, or to talk about the facts. He will blast the bullhorn loud and proud. That's continuing the story. I'm just kind of giving details of the story about how he stands outside and sings songs and tells you goofy things in the morning sometimes. Parents and students alike often smile and rave from their cars. That's telling more of the story. It's just what it looks like out there when he's acting like a goofball. Okay, now this next sentence, we have to determine, is he telling more of the story, or now am I explaining why he does something? He knows that students need a special lift when their moms and dads drive up at the unloading circle. I think that is analysis. It's explaining why he does something, okay? So I'm going to underline that in green. Even though he is the head of the middle school, he doesn't mind cutting up and embarrassing himself at drop-off because it starts the day off right. I think that's talking, it's explaining in even more and analyzing even more why he does that. Why does he stand out there with the bullhorn? So I think that's more analysis of him. I'm sorry, I covered the words there a little bit, but mostly just try to underline. Now, if I had to guess, this is the last sentence. Let's check and see. It needs to be a closing sentence, And it needs to be one last opinion about him that is not about drop-off. Okay, so you can't just write a sentence, one more sentence about drop-off, because this sentence here is going to close the whole paragraph, which is about drop-off and how he sings and does goofy things, and then also about his doofus Green Bay antics. Okay, so it's about the whole paragraph. Let's see. Mr. Stevens is the epitome of the eternal middle school student, which makes school so much more bearable. So I think this is a good sentence. It wraps up this whole thing about him being kind of fun and positive. That is my closing sentence. Okay, let's make a few notes here, okay? First of all, I want you to notice I tried to connect some of my ideas in this paragraph with words that would kind of signal when a chunk was about to begin. Here's one. Circle it. For example, while wearing the doofus cheesehead, I'm jumping into my first concrete detail there. Here is the second one that starts the second chunk. I think that's nice. Oh, you know what we forgot to do? This is where the last chunk, or the second chunk ends. Let's put brackets around it. Okay, now I'm going to give you a job. I want you to highlight this paragraph. It's probably going to look very similar because we know that it has to start with a TS. We know it's going to have concrete details and commentary in a chunk, and it's probably going to have more than one chunk, and then it's going to end with a closing sentence. So I think you can do this. I'd like you to pause your video, okay? And so you can mark it, and then when you're finished, you can turn on your video, and let's see if we match. I'm going to pause as well and mark up this paragraph, and when you turn the video back on, we'll see if we have similar opinions about the different parts of this body paragraph. Okay, thank you for marking the second body paragraph. We're going to compare your paragraph with the way that mine is highlighted, and I'm going to read through it and talk about it a little bit. On the flip side, Mr. Stevens is also a serious and respected leader. And so we have our topic and our opinion. That's a good topic sentence. And so this whole body paragraph is going to talk about how he's respected and very serious about being, with his job and about leading middle schoolers. Now, I want you to notice, here's my first chunk, and I forgot a transition word. So I'm going to add one right now. And I'm going to put like some orange above it and then maybe write a word in there. I've already used for example up there, but that would work here. I just don't want to hear it again. And so I've gotten out of my orange sheet from the binder under helpful handouts, and I need one that's also like for example, so such as, for instance, in the case of, as revealed by, illustrated by. I kind of like for instance. So what I think I'm going to do is to write for instance right here. Comma, because when you have a transition phrase, you put a comma when it's at the beginning. For instance, he believes in trying to prepare students for their future in upper school and in college. Now, I threw you a curveball here because our gang sign, 1 CD, 2 CMs, can come in any order. Remember that. It can be CM first, and then it possibly could be CD, CM. And in this one, it does. This chunk does that. So here's our chunk. It starts with this first commentary. Now I transition a little bit and I tell you an example of him trying to help students get ready for college. Here's my example. This is my story moment. He often will encourage students at the middle school assemblies to keep up their good study habits by giving uplifting speeches. We've heard him do that. That's a fact. Now I'm going to analyze, why does he do that? Why does he give those speeches and encourage us to live with honor and to study hard and to not give up and to not be too silly when we know it's a busy time of year? Here's another commentary sentence. He knows how tempting it can be to slack off and doesn't want the students to get in a procrastination rut. End of the first chunk. 1 CD, it goes CM, CD, CM. Okay, now we start our second chunk, and you can see that I use I use this transition word also. I'm wondering, maybe we could have like said one that's going to say likewise. It's comparing, like you could say likewise, which means not only does he do that, he does this too, or in the same way. Okay, those would be good ones. I'm kind of looking around here. Moreover, meaning he does this, but more importantly, he does this too, or furthermore, or additionally. These all would have been really nice transition words. So I may rethink my also there. Okay, let's read the second chunk. He also is an example of honor and honesty. That's my opinion. So I'm starting this chunk with a CM first as well. And then here comes our CD example of him being honest. Here's my story. As students are sitting in the hallway before school, Mr. Stevens will walk by and gently remind students to get into a classroom to work on their homework. That's my story. Now, I could have taken as many sentences as I needed there to explain how he walks down the hall, but I just wrote it in one sentence. And now I have my CM, my last analysis of him, my last opinion, my last commentary. He does not want students to be tempted to cheat, even accidentally. So this CM is answering why. Why does he walk down the hallway? Why does he do something? So CMs are often, what's his motivation? Okay, that ends the second chunk. Now here's my closing sentence. Let's see, does it sum up the whole body paragraph? I don't want a sentence that just talks about him walking down the hall. I need a sentence that wraps up that and plus him encouraging students to always work hard. So here's what I wrote. It is certainly a blessing that Mr. Stevens can lead the middle school with his strong academic example. Okay, that's great because that covers everything in there. It closes the whole body paragraph. Now, we just have the conclusion paragraph, and the conclusion paragraph should go like this. Specific, I'm drawing little dotted lines, to broad. Let's check and see. Not every middle school in America can brag that its principal is the best, but the students at FWCD know that Mr. Stevens is the best one for them. He fits in very nicely in this crazy yet academic environment. I really don't think I did a very good job on going from specific to broad, but you know what I did do a good job on here? I think it wraps up the whole essay really well, and it doesn't say anything else I've already said before. I don't like it when a conclusion paragraph is going to say, Mr. He's respected, or he's so fun, or he gives kids encouragement, or he antagonizes kids. I like it to ring of new material. I like new information to close the body paragraph. So here, that's the end of our color coding today. I need you to put this document into your helpful handouts. Okay, just keep it in your helpful handouts because you may need to refer to this document when we do a very similar exercise in the near future. Okay, I hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening to me.